Hey car enthusiasts, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into the history books to uncover the top 9 stupidest of the worst cars that came out in America in the 1975s, highlighting their design flaws, poor performance, and overall misguided concepts. So sit back, relax, and make sure to watch the video until the end. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and become part of our community. Don't forget to hit the bell to be notified every time we post new content. Your subscription helps us grow and create more amazing videos for you. Number 9. The 1975 Lincoln Continental. Mark IV is a prime example of the extravagant personal luxury cars that were popular in the early to mid-1970s. While it exuded luxury and offered a host of high-end features, the Mark IV was also emblematic of many of the excesses of the era, leading it to be criticized as a dumb or misguided vehicle, particularly as economic conditions shifted. The Lincoln Continental Mark IV was the successor to the Mark III, and it carried over the same general design philosophy, offering a large, imposing presence on the road with an emphasis on luxury and comfort. The Mark IV was known for its distinctive styling, including the signature Continental spare tire hump on the trunk lid, hidden headlights, and an abundance of chrome trim. Inside, the Mark IV was lavishly appointed, with plush seats, thick carpeting, and a range of amenities that catered to the comfort of its occupants. In 1975, Lincoln introduced the Designer Series options, which allowed buyers to choose from 4 distinct interior and exterior color schemes, each inspired by famous fashion designers such as Bill Blass, Cartier, Givenchy, and Pucci. These packages included unique badging and interior materials, further emphasizing the car's luxury status. One of the most immediate criticisms of the Mark IV was its size. At nearly 19 feet long and over 5,200 pounds, the Mark IV was an enormous vehicle by any standard. This sheer size made the car cumbersome to drive, particularly in urban environments where parking and maneuvering could be a challenge. The long hood and overall length contributed to a turning circle that made tight turns difficult, and the car's massive dimensions made it feel unwieldy on the road. The size also translated into a significant amount of weight, which impacted both the car's performance and fuel efficiency. The Mark IV was powered by a 460 cubic inch, 7.5-liter V8 engine, which produced around 220 horsepower, more than enough to move the car, but not enough to make it feel particularly quick or nimble. The heavy weight of the car also contributed to sluggish acceleration and a generally lethargic driving experience. The 1975 Lincoln Continental Mark IV was introduced during a time when fuel economy was becoming an increasingly important consideration for car buyers, largely due to the oil crises of the 1970s. However, the Mark IV's enormous V8 engine and heavy body meant that it was one of the least fuel-efficient vehicles on the market. Fuel economy was abysmal, with the Mark IV averaging around 10 miles per gallon, MPG, or worse in city driving. This was at a time when gasoline prices were rising sharply and consumers were becoming more conscious of the cost of operating such a large vehicle. This poor fuel economy made the Mark IV seem particularly out of touch with the economic realities of the time. While the car was marketed to affluent buyers who may have been less concerned with fuel costs, the general shift in consumer preferences toward more fuel-efficient vehicles meant that the Mark IV represented a throwback to a more extravagant pre-oil crisis era. By 1975, the automotive industry was beginning to feel the effects of new federal regulations aimed at improving fuel economy, reducing emissions, and enhancing safety. The Mark IV, with its massive engine and emphasis on luxury over efficiency, was increasingly seen as out of step with these trends. The car's design and engineering were rooted in the early 1970s, a period before the full impact of the oil crises and environmental concerns had taken hold. As a result, the Mark IV was viewed as a relic of a bygone era of automotive excess, when size, power, and opulence were the primary considerations in luxury car design. This made the Mark IV seem almost anachronistic by the time it was released, as it failed to align with the growing demand for smaller, more economical vehicles. Despite these criticisms, the Lincoln Continental Mark IV was a successful model for Lincoln, and it remains a symbol of 1970s American luxury. It appealed to buyers who were still drawn to the idea of a large, comfortable, and well-appointed vehicle, regardless of the practical considerations. However, its legacy is also tied to the excesses of the era, and it is often cited as an example of how the American automotive industry struggled to adapt to changing economic and environmental realities. In hindsight, the Mark IV's shortcomings, its size, weight, and poor fuel economy are seen as reflective of a time when American automakers were slow to recognize and respond to the shifts in consumer priorities. While luxurious and stylish, the Mark IV ultimately represented a misguided approach to luxury that was increasingly out of step with the needs and desires of car buyers in the mid-1970s. Number 8. The 1975 Cadillac Fleetwood is a quintessential example of American automotive luxury from an era when bigger was often considered better. However, by the mid-1970s, the Fleetwood's excessive size, poor fuel economy, and increasingly outdated design led to it being seen as a symbol of excess rather than sophistication. Here's why the 1975 Cadillac Fleetwood is often regarded as a dumb or misguided vehicle, especially in the context of its time. The 1975 Cadillac Fleetwood was one of the largest cars on the road, with a wheelbase stretching over 133 inches and a length of nearly 20 feet. This sheer size contributed to the car's imposing presence, but also made it cumbersome to drive and park. The Fleetwood's weight, which approached 5,500 pounds, further exacerbated these issues, leading to sluggish performance and a driving experience that could feel more like piloting a boat than a car. The large size was intended to provide a sense of grandeur and comfort, with a spacious interior that could accommodate passengers in lavish style. However, by the mid-1970s, consumer preferences were beginning to shift away from such oversized vehicles, particularly as urban environments became more congested and practical considerations like parking and maneuverability became more important. One of the most significant criticisms of the 1975 Cadillac Fleetwood was its dismal fuel economy. The car was powered by a massive 8.2-liter V8 engine, which, while powerful, was also extremely inefficient. In an era marked by the aftermath of the 1973 oil crisis, when fuel prices were high and gas shortages were fresh in the public's mind, the Fleetwood's fuel consumption was out of step with the growing demand for more economical vehicles. The Fleetwood's fuel economy was among the worst in the industry, with real-world figures often falling below 10 miles per gallon. This was at a time when even luxury car buyers were beginning to consider the cost of operating such a large and thirsty vehicle. The Fleetwood's poor fuel economy made it an impractical choice for many, particularly as economic conditions in the mid-1970s made fuel efficiency an increasingly important factor in car purchases. The 1975 Cadillac Fleetwood's design was another point of contention. While it maintained the classic Cadillac styling cues, such as the massive chrome grille, prominent tail fins, and ornate trim, these elements were beginning to feel outdated by the mid-1970s. The Fleetwood styling was rooted in the design language of the 1960s, and by 1975, it was starting to look old-fashioned compared to the more modern, streamlined designs coming from both American and European manufacturers. The Fleetwood's interior, while luxurious, also reflected this sense of being out of touch with contemporary trends. The use of thick plush materials, elaborate wood paneling, and excessive chrome trim gave the cabin a decidedly retro feel that didn't resonate with the changing tastes of luxury car buyers, who were beginning to favor more understated and sophisticated designs. By 1975, the Fleetwood's engineering and technology were also lagging behind the competition. Cadillac, like many American automakers at the time, was slow to adopt new technologies that were becoming standard in luxury vehicles. While the Fleetwood did offer features like power windows, climate control, and a smooth ride thanks to its soft suspension, it lacked the more advanced innovations that were becoming available in other luxury cars. For example, Cadillac was slower to introduce more efficient engines, better handling dynamics, and advanced safety features that were being prioritized by both European and Japanese luxury brands. This lack of innovation made the Fleetwood feel increasingly outdated and out of step with the evolving automotive landscape. Ultimately, the 1975 Cadillac Fleetwood became a symbol of the excesses of the American automotive industry during the 1970s. Its enormous size, excessive weight, poor fuel economy, and outdated design all contributed to the perception that it was out of touch with the needs and desires of consumers. The car represented a bygone era of unchecked luxury and extravagance, at a time when practicality, efficiency, and modernity were becoming more valued in the automotive world. As the decade progressed and the automotive industry faced increasing pressure to produce more efficient and innovative vehicles, the Fleetwood's shortcomings became even more apparent. While it remained a status symbol for some, for many others, it epitomized the misguided priorities of American car manufacturers in an era of significant economic and social change. Number 7. The 1975 Chrysler Cordoba was introduced as Chrysler's entry into the personal luxury car market, a segment that was highly popular in the 1970s. However, despite some initial success, the Cordoba earned a reputation for several reasons that led to it being considered a dumb or problematic vehicle. The Cordoba suffered from poor build quality, a common issue among many American cars of the era. This was a time when the auto industry, particularly Detroit's Big Three, was struggling with quality control. The Cordoba was no exception, with reports of various mechanical problems, subpar materials, and inconsistent assembly. These issues tarnished the car's reputation over time. While marketed as a personal luxury car, the Cordoba was quite large and heavy. This excessive weight not only affected the car's performance, but also its fuel economy. In the mid-1970s, the oil crisis made fuel efficiency a significant concern for consumers. The Cordoba's poor fuel economy was a major drawback, especially as consumer preferences began shifting towards smaller, more efficient vehicles. Despite being marketed as a luxury vehicle, the Cordoba lacked the refinement and sophistication expected from a luxury car. The ride quality was not particularly smooth, and the handling was often described as ponderous. This made the car feel less luxurious compared to its rivals, which offered a better balance of comfort and performance. By 1975, the Cordoba's design was beginning to feel outdated. The styling, which initially attracted buyers with its distinctive look, quickly became stale. The car's large, heavy design was increasingly seen as old-fashioned and out of touch with the changing automotive landscape, which was moving toward more modern, streamlined vehicles. The Cordoba faced stiff competition from more refined and better-performing vehicles in the personal luxury segment. Cars like the Ford Thunderbird and Chevrolet Monte Carlo offered a more compelling package with better styling, performance, and overall quality. This made it difficult for the Cordoba to stand out in a crowded market. In summary, the 1975 Chrysler Cordoba's combination of poor build quality, excessive weight, lack of refinement, and outdated design contributed to its reputation as a dumb or problematic vehicle. While it had some initial appeal, it ultimately failed to live up to the expectations of a personal luxury car and struggled to compete with its more successful rivals. Number 6. The 1975 Chevrolet Vega is often cited as one of the most disappointing cars of its era, largely due to its ambitious design that fell short in execution. The Vega was Chevrolet's attempt to compete with small, economical imports like the Volkswagen Beetle and the Toyota Corolla. It was designed with a lightweight aluminum engine to improve fuel efficiency, which was crucial during the 1970s oil crisis. However, the execution of these ideas was plagued by several issues. The Vega's aluminum engine was innovative, but it was prone to overheating and had durability problems. The engine was notorious for developing leaks, warping, and even failing prematurely. The decision to use silicon aluminum for the engine block without iron cylinder liners led to excessive wear and oil consumption, tarnishing the car's reputation. The Vega was also infamous for its tendency to rust, even in areas where road salt wasn't heavily used. The use of thin-gauge steel and inadequate rust-proofing measures made the car susceptible to corrosion. This led to significant body rust, sometimes appearing within a few years of purchase, damaging the car's resale value and reputation. The Vega suffered from poor build quality, which was a symptom of GM's cost-cutting measures during production. Fit and finish issues, such as misaligned panels and interiors, were common complaints. This lack of attention to detail further alienated buyers. The Vega faced numerous recalls for various issues, including problems with the cooling system, engine, and suspension. These recalls, combined with the car's inherent design flaws, led to high maintenance costs and frustration among owners. The combination of these problems led to a negative reputation for the Vega, which became synonymous with poor quality. It damaged Chevrolet's brand image and was a contributing factor to GM's struggle to compete with more reliable imports during the 1970s and 1980s. While the Chevrolet Vega was initially praised for its innovative design and potential, the numerous quality control issues and inherent flaws made it a symbol of American automotive shortcomings during the 1970s. Its legacy as a dumb or problematic vehicle is well-deserved, as it exemplified the gap between ambition and execution in the automotive industry at that time. Number 5. The 1975 Cadillac Seville was Cadillac's response to the growing demand for smaller, more fuel-efficient luxury cars during the 1970s, particularly in the wake of the oil crisis and the rising popularity of imported luxury vehicles like the Mercedes-Benz. While the Seville was a notable attempt to modernize Cadillac's image and appeal to a changing market, it had several aspects that made it a dumb or controversial vehicle for the brand. The Seville's design was a significant departure from Cadillac's traditionally large and imposing vehicles. It was smaller, more angular, and had a distinctly boxy appearance. While the intention was to create a more international look, many felt it lacked the elegance and grandeur that Cadillac was known for. Its downsized proportions made it appear awkward and out of place within Cadillac's lineup, which was typically associated with opulence and size. By opting for a smaller size, the Seville was perceived by some traditional Cadillac buyers as a step down from the brand's larger, more luxurious offerings. Cadillac's reputation had been built on producing some of the most luxurious and spacious cars in the world, and the Seville's compactness was seen as a betrayal of this legacy. This perception of inferiority alienated some of Cadillac's loyal customer base. The Seville was based on the GM X-body platform, which it shared with less prestigious models like the Chevrolet Nova. Although Cadillac made significant modifications to ensure a more refined and luxurious experience, the underlying platform led some critics to view the Seville as little more than a dressed-up economy car. This diluted the exclusive image that Cadillac had cultivated over decades. Despite its smaller size and shared platform, the Seville was priced significantly higher than other vehicles in its class, including other Cadillacs. This led to criticism that buyers were paying a premium simply for the Cadillac badge, without receiving the traditional Cadillac experience in return. The high price tag, combined with the car's perceived shortcomings, made it difficult for many to justify purchasing a Seville. While the Seville did find an audience and was successful in attracting new customers to the Cadillac brand, it was also met with criticism from those who felt it represented a compromise of Cadillac's core values. The car's controversial reception highlighted the challenges American luxury brands faced during the 1970s in adapting to new market realities without alienating their existing customer base. The 1975 Cadillac Seville was a bold attempt to adapt to the changing automotive landscape of the 1970s, but its smaller size, awkward proportions, and shared platform with less prestigious GM models led to a mixed reception. While it introduced new buyers to the Cadillac brand, it also alienated traditional customers who felt it didn't live up to Cadillac's legacy of luxury and grandeur. The Seville's mixed success and criticism illustrate the difficulties Cadillac faced in balancing innovation with the expectations of its loyal customer base. Number 4. The 1975 Ford Pinto is often remembered as one of the most infamous cars in automotive history, largely due to serious safety concerns and the ethical controversies surrounding its production. The Pinto was designed with a rear-mounted fuel tank that was positioned in such a way that it was vulnerable to punctures and ruptures in the event of a rear-end collision. This design flaw became notorious because, in many cases, the ruptured fuel tank could lead to fuel leaks and fires. The placement of the tank, combined with the car's lack of structural reinforcement at the rear, created a significant risk of the vehicle catching fire after a collision. What made the Pinto's design flaw even more controversial was the revelation that Ford had conducted a cost-benefit analysis, calculating that it would be cheaper to pay potential legal claims from accidents than to redesign the car to fix the fuel tank issue. This decision, which prioritized cost savings over consumer safety, sparked outrage and led to significant legal and public relations challenges for Ford. The Pinto's safety issues and Ford's handling of the situation led to widespread criticism and damaged the company's reputation. The car became a symbol of corporate negligence and the potential dangers of cutting corners in automotive design. The Pinto memo, as the internal cost-benefit analysis became known, was used as evidence in lawsuits and further cemented the Pinto's place in history as a problematic and ethically questionable vehicle. Beyond the safety concerns, the Pinto was also criticized for its overall design and performance. It was intended to be an affordable, compact car to compete with imports like the Volkswagen Beetle and Toyota Corolla. However, It was seen as underpowered and lacking in features, with a basic design that didn't stand out in the market. The Pinto's legacy is one of cautionary tales in the automotive industry, illustrating the dangers of prioritizing cost over safety. It led to increased scrutiny of vehicle safety standards and a greater focus on consumer protection in the automotive industry. Number 3. The 1975 Chevrolet Nova represents a period when the once popular compact car was starting to feel outdated and out of step with the evolving automotive market. By the time the 1975 model rolled around, the Nova's design had become stale. Originally introduced in the early 1960s, the Nova had seen few significant changes over the years. While this consistency might have appealed to some loyal buyers, it also made the car seem outdated compared to more modern competitors. The boxy, conservative styling of the Nova failed to capture the attention of a market increasingly interested in more innovative and aerodynamic designs. The 1975 Nova was also hampered by poor fuel economy, a significant drawback in the wake of the 1973 oil crisis. As consumers became more concerned about gas prices and fuel efficiency, the Nova's performance fell short. The car was available with a range of engines, but even the smaller, more economical versions struggled to deliver competitive fuel efficiency. This made the Nova less appealing to buyers looking for economical transportation. In addition to its outdated design and poor fuel economy, the Nova offered an uninspired driving experience. The car was often criticized for its bland handling and lackluster performance. While it was reasonably reliable, the driving dynamics didn't excite enthusiasts, and it didn't offer the refinement or comfort that more contemporary rivals were beginning to provide. By 1975, the Nova was facing stiff competition from both domestic and foreign manufacturers. Japanese automakers were gaining traction in the US market with their small, efficient cars that offered better fuel economy, reliability, and value. Even within the domestic market, other compact cars like the Ford Pinto and Dodge Dart were offering more modern features or better pricing. The 1975 Chevrolet Nova marked a point where the car was struggling to maintain its relevance in a changing market. While it remained a reasonably popular car due to its affordability and familiarity, it was clear that the Nova was no longer the innovative, exciting compact car it had once been. Its continued production into the late 1970s reflected more on Chevrolet's reluctance to abandon a well-known nameplate than on the car's merits in the marketplace. Number 2. The 1975 Plymouth Duster, while an affordable option in its time, is often seen as dumb or problematic for several reasons. The Duster was positioned as a budget-friendly car, and this was reflected in its build quality and interior. The materials used were often cheap, and the overall fit and finish left much to be desired. Compared to its competitors, it offered little in terms of comfort or modern features. By 1975, the muscle car era was waning, and emissions regulations were choking the power output of many vehicles. The Duster, which had previously offered some more exciting engine options, was now available with a range of engines that prioritized fuel efficiency over performance. The base 225/6 engine was reliable but lacked the power to make the car enjoyable to drive. The V8 options were also detuned and did not live up to the expectations set by earlier models. The Duster's design had not seen significant updates since its introduction in 1970. By 1975, the car's styling looked dated compared to more modern and innovative designs from other manufacturers. The boxy, simplistic design failed to stand out in a market that was increasingly moving towards more aerodynamic and stylish vehicles. The Duster was competing in a segment with vehicles like the Ford Mustang II and Chevrolet Camaro, which, despite their own flaws, offered more in terms of style, brand appeal, and performance. The Duster's inability to differentiate itself in a meaningful way led to it being overshadowed. Although the Duster was relatively fuel-efficient for its time, the energy crisis of the 1970s put a spotlight on fuel economy, and even though the Duster was not the worst in this regard, it wasn't the best either. Additionally, the introduction of catalytic converters and other emissions control devices made the engines even less powerful and more complex, which added to maintenance issues. The Duster's image was that of a no-frills, bare-bones vehicle. While this appealed to some buyers looking for an affordable, reliable car, it did little to excite the broader market. The car was seen as a practical choice rather than an aspirational one, which hurt its appeal, especially in a time when consumers were starting to look for more from their vehicles. In summary, the 1975 Plymouth Duster struggled with an outdated design, underwhelming performance, and a lack of refinement, making it a less compelling choice in an increasingly competitive market. Its shortcomings were highlighted by the rapidly changing automotive landscape of the mid-1970s, which left the Duster feeling like a relic of a bygone era. Number 1. The 1975 Ford Mustang II is often labeled as dumb or problematic for several reasons. The original Ford Mustang, introduced in 1964, became an instant icon, symbolizing power, style, and youthful exuberance. The Mustang II, however, marked a significant shift away from these roots. Ford downsized the Mustang II, basing it on the Pinto platform in response to the oil crisis and changing market demands. While this made sense economically, it alienated many Mustang enthusiasts who expected performance and muscle, not a compact car with modest power. The 1975 Mustang II was offered with a range of engines, but none were particularly powerful. The base model came with a 2.3-liter inline-4 engine that produced just 88 horsepower, far from the thrilling performance the Mustang name had come to represent. Even the optional V6 and V8 engines were heavily detuned, offering lackluster acceleration and driving dynamics. This underperformance made the Mustang II feel slow and unresponsive, a stark contrast to its predecessors. The Mustang II's design was also a departure from the bold, aggressive styling of the original Mustang. It featured a smaller, more compact body that some considered bland and uninspiring. While it aimed to capture the personal luxury car trend of the time, it ended up looking more like an economy car than a sporty, desirable vehicle. The loss of the fastback option, a signature of the original Mustang, further detracted from its appeal. During the mid-1970s, the automotive market was shifting, with increasing demand for fuel-efficient cars due to the oil crisis. The Mustang II was Ford's response to this, but it faced stiff competition from other compact cars that offered better performance, styling, and value. The Chevrolet Camaro and Pontiac Firebird, despite also being affected by the era's emission regulations, managed to retain more of their performance appeal than the Mustang II. For many consumers and enthusiasts, the Mustang II was a letdown. The car's performance and styling didn't live up to the Mustang legacy, leading to widespread disappointment. It was seen as a compromise, a Mustang in name only, lacking the power, excitement, and presence that the original had established. This perception damaged the Mustang's reputation and left many questioning Ford's direction with the model. While the Mustang II sold well initially due to its fuel efficiency and practicality in a time of economic uncertainty, its long-term legacy is largely negative. It's often seen as the low point in the Mustang's history, a symbol of how far the model had strayed from its original mission. Enthusiasts generally regard it as one of the least desirable Mustangs ever made. In summary, the 1975 Ford Mustang II is considered dumb because it abandoned the muscle car heritage that made the Mustang an icon. It offered underwhelming performance, uninspiring design, and left many enthusiasts feeling disappointed with the direction Ford took. Despite its initial sales success, it remains a controversial chapter in the Mustang's history.